Greetings, everyone. Tim Anderson here, aka Renfell, and the time has finally come. I have finally read Mistborn, or the first Mistborn novel, The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson, and this is a long time in coming. I know I'm way behind the times with this. This book first came out, 2006, which was quite a while ago. Um, so yeah, I'm behind the curve when it comes to getting up to speed with Sanderson. Now I know a lot of hype has been lauded upon him ever since his career got off to a start with the Wheel of Time. I've just never read any of his books because I've been busy with game development and other stuff. So I'm just now getting back into reading. The only thing I'd ever read by Sanderson before this was his conclusion to the Wheel of Time, which was great. Those books that he wrote were amazing. He was definitely a good fit for that position, and I know that that kind of launched his career into the stratosphere. And since then, I've just heard rave reviews about everything he's done, and just kind of some of me kind of always put it off as sort of a oh, people are just excited because he's the guy who finished Wheel of Time. Like, sure, he's good, but he can't be that good, right? Uh, having just read the first Mistborn novel, yeah, he's that good. I was blown away. So in a way, I kind of feel like this was the perfect first book to read on my new Kindle Paperwhite as I get back into reading for the first time in like more than a decade. Um, and I kind of wanted to do my first ever book review here on YouTube, which uh, I guess the thing to do is spoiler free, so I will try to do spoiler free. Although I also kind of feel like the book's been out for a long time, and but there's probably more people like me out there that haven't read the book, so I will attempt to do this in a spoiler free manner. Um, so the first thing I want to say, and I've ranted about this a little bit in my Discord channel is um, I don't think I've ever read an author who is as good at dialogue flow than Sanderson is, at least in this book. Again, I'm just getting into the Sanderson craze here. But I was really blown away by just how good the dialogue was between all of the different characters that are coming together as a part of the crew that are working on this mission. Um, just incredibly well done. The character of Vin herself, I know a lot of people have said she was incredibly well written. I think that she was well written. There were a couple of instances where I felt like she fell a little bit flat and it was a little too cliched, like a um, young thief character. But those moments were so few and far between that it didn't really take away from the overall character development, which if you look at it through the pacing of the various parts of the book, that went well, very well. I think it was the beginning of part two, when the timeline advances a little bit, and we see Vin coming into her own after previously having just been introduced to this new form of magic. Um, and the transition from kind of a newbie who had been in training to being someone who's now becoming comfortable with her abilities, that transition was very well done. I really appreciated that. Um, I think the one thing that I really enjoyed about this book, obviously, Allomancy is an incredibly unique magic system, but there was a part of me as I got to the end of the book, and it was like, oh, there's not just one, not just two, but three magic systems that we know about now. And obviously the third, and I'm not giving away anything by this, the third magic system is just teased at the end of the first book. But we know all about Allomancy by the end of the first book, and we also know all about the other one, which I'm forgetting the name, Fulgamancy, maybe is that what it's called? I don't have it open in front of me, so this is me being a bad reviewer. Um, so we get two incredibly fleshed out and detailed magic systems out of one book, with a third being teased. And there was a part of me that was like, okay, Sanderson, like, one was cool. Two was you just kind of flexing a little bit. Three, now you're just showing off, dude. Like, come on, take it down a notch. We know you're good. Like, you don't need to just, shove it in our faces how cool all of your stuff is and how good your imagination is. So there was a part of me that was chuckling as I got to the end of the book and was like, oh God, so now we've got all of these things layered on top of each other that are leading into the next book. Um, so yeah, incredibly detailed magic system. I felt like, from a writing standpoint, I felt like in the earliest stages of the book, when he was first explaining things, and we were getting a taste of how that magic system worked and the pushing and pulling and everything else, it wasn't as well written as it was later on in the book. And I don't know if that was purposefully done and is meant to like represent the fact that Vin was getting better with her abilities, or if that was just a natural progression of him getting more accustomed to the characters and the magic system itself. As he wrote the book, and the deeper he got into it, the more familiar he was with the own systems, that he was developing. But there was a part of me that in the early stages, I was always kind of a little bit confused. Maybe confused isn't the right word, but I was reading some of the action sequences that involved allomancy, and I was always having to reread certain things, going, "Hang on, wait a second, is that what did he just do here? What just happened? What did Vin do?" Um, so there was that. But by the end of it, I felt that those scenes were much much better. And I've already read the first few chapters of Well of Ascension now, and um, the flow is even better, I think, in that book. So I'm looking forward to getting that one read and reviewing that one. Obviously, you still have one of the classic moments in this book of a mentor who takes her from being a nobody thief and leads her into something greater. And of course, the things that happen along the way to strengthen that relationship and build upon that relationship without, giving too much away here. I think you could look at a movie like, say, the first Star Wars movie, A New Hope, and the Ben Kenobi character to the Luke Skywalker character, and the arc that happens in that movie is very similar to what happens in this book, um, in terms of how that teacher guides that person, and then the how that relationship ends up playing out over the course of the book. Um, Plot twists. Oh my goodness. There were a few moments during the book where I felt like there were some really good plot twists that happens. There's one moment, um, I'm probably going to spoil a little bit by saying this, but you're led to believe as the crew is going, everything's going well. They've got the caves, they're building their army, everything seems to be on their side. Like the Lord Ruler hasn't figured anything out yet, and then they get found out, and that there's a part of their plan that completely gets thrown into the winds, and they have to then figure out how to react to that and take it from that and build upon it, which they end up doing very well. There was like the last book in particular, the last part four. There were so many plot twists and reveals going on that it was another moment where I kind of just like, all right, dude, slow down. You can stop flexing. Like, it's good. We don't need all of this stuff thrown at us at the same time. So there was a part of me that, I felt like there was an overload of information in part four. We also started to get some more point of view characters kind of thrown into the mix towards the end of the book, and in particular, that last part of the book, there were so many plot twists happening and so many reveals happening that I did feel overwhelmed, and I felt like a little bit like, I felt like it was probably a little too much. It all culminated into something that was very cool by the end of it, but it was also something that was like, I think that some of that could have been scaled back a bit in a personal note. The only negative thing I have to say about this experience was I did feel like there was a reveal that happened towards the end where one of the not I don't think I don't think I'm wrong in saying it's not a main bad guy character, but it is one of the primary bad guy characters that Vin is facing. There's a reveal dialogue that happens where the guy is basically explaining all of his motives and everything, and I just was kind of reading that going, this is one of those sequences that I hate in movies where the bad guy takes time to explain to the person who's in the prison cell chained up and can't do anything. I got you, and this is how I got you, and my plans are unfolding exactly how I want them to. And he just explains everything, and I'm like, eh, I didn't really. That was the one takeaway for me that was like the one negative was that part of it. Otherwise, I feel that this book, I gave it a 5 out of 5 on my Goodreads review, just because I think it was, so good. I don't know if you could do like 4.5. I didn't see a way to do like between a 4 and a 5. If I could have given it a 4.5, I would have given it a 4.5. That one little bit being the over explaining, and I felt that there was slightly a little like too much going on in the last part of the book. But otherwise, man, I gotta say, what a way to, burst onto the scene with this opening book in a trilogy. It's been a long time, and I don't want to sound cliched when I say this, but like, there's definitely, sometimes there's these first books in these series. There's a reason why these series go on to become bestsellers, and I hope I'm not being cliched when I say, The Eye of the World was a perfect example of a first book, but also the first Game of Thrones novel. Um, there are books out there, the first Amber novel. Sometimes when you read a first book if it's going to be a good series or not. Other series, it's like the first book is okay, second book's better, and by the third one, you're like, oh yeah, this is really good. Which I kind of feel the Rift War saga was kind of like that. For me, the Rift War is like a slow burn. Um, Anyway, I digress. I think this was a very cool book. I know I'm late to the party. I'm now understanding why Sanderson has become the behemoth that he is. And I gotta say, this was hugely enjoyable. I'm really glad that this was the first book that I read on my Kindle Paperwhite, and I'm already into the second book. I'm just gonna read the trilogy back to back here. It did take me about 2 weeks to read this first book. I didn't read every single night, but I tried to get 2 or 3 hours in most nights of the week. I was reading more by the end of it because I started to uh, stop doing other things so that I could actually finish the book. And so I was getting in some good 3 hour reading sessions over the last like 4 or 5 nights just to get through it finally. But yeah, it took me about 2 weeks. I'm expecting to take about the same amount of time. So hopefully by the end of the month, um, by this end of September, I'll be finished with Well of Ascension and I'll be able to get a review up on that. So stick around. And if this is your first time tuning into this channel and you like this video, do me a favor, please give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment below if you've read the book and you have things you want to talk about. If you don't like it, also feel free to thumbs down it. But I would appreciate it if you do let me know that you enjoy the video. And of course, if you want to know more, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, hit that bell icon so that you get updates for all the other stuff I do here. There's a lot of different things that I do here on the YouTube channel. You can check it out. I do game reviews. I do the Lord of the Rings online cooking show. I do the Mondays and MMORPGs podcast. We were doing Project Drammond updates, but we're moving those over to its own channel now. I'm starting to do book reviews now. So there's a lot of different things that happen here. And of course, don't forget to join our Discord. Links are below to all that stuff. You can also check out our Patreon if you want to see what we're doing with Project Drammond. Thanks so much, everybody. And I really hope that you stick around for future book reviews. Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and good reading.